This video is going to be my the state of TNA Impact address. Welcome back, everyone. This is Jason. This video is going to be covering my opinions on what are the positives and what are the negatives of the current product of TNA Impact. Now, this no way, shape, or form is meant to come across as I hate TNA Impact, okay? I've been a fan of TNA Impact since its induction back in the early 2000s. I think it was 2002 is when I started doing it. I know they were doing the monthly pay-per-views or weekly pay-per-views, whatever it was, for a while. Then they got their TV deal on Fox Sports. And that, honestly, back in that time was when I really became a fan. I loved that product. And then they went to Spike TV. And, I've liked some stuff of what they did. I've loved some stuff of what they did. And I've disliked some stuff of what they did. And and every once in a while, I try to reevaluate what I think is great about TNA and what I just don't think they're doing very well from a fan standpoint. So, let's start. So, you're not like, well, you're going to be all negative. No, I'm not going to be all negative. I'm going to start out with a bunch of positive things, what I think are good for TNA, what I think they're doing right now. I'm going to go down my list. I made 2 lists. Alright, some of the positives. This deal that they did a while back with, I believe it's called Wrestle One. It's Muda's company. I believe that's what it's called. And they're bringing in stars from there, like the X Division champ right now, Sonata, and this other guy, Tigre Uno. Some of that stuff is great. It takes me back to the old days of takes me back to when I first started becoming a fan of the X Division, when you used to see matches between Kaz and Christopher Daniels and Matt Bentley. If you remember Matt Bentley, he was around in the beginning. Who else? Oh gosh, Elix Skipper, some of those guys. So much fun to watch back at the beginning of the X Division. These guys have, they're just as fun to watch. They're high flyers. They got great moves. They're quick. They're action packed. I think they could bring in maybe a few more guys. I don't know what their whole deal consists of. Unfortunately, I did hear something recently that these guys aren't going to be around very long. Like I said, I don't know what the deal is, but, whatever they're doing with them now, I like. Okay? So that's one. A majority of the TNA fans that I hear on Facebook and around that I have seen, I hear them saying one of the main reasons that they're watching right now is because of the Wolves, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. They desperately needed this team to get signed ASAP, and they did. They did a great job of bringing them in. Kind of a changing of the guard is going on right now in TNA. Kind of a out with the old and in with the new. Great tag team, action-packed. They are now the tag team champions. I hope they can make more teams like this in the future. It's going to keep them as a solid brand in wrestling. Bringing back Bobby Lashley. When I first saw this, I was like, oh no. But I'm thinking back to when he was with the company before, and it was great, with the exception that he didn't do anything the last time he was with the company because he had this other deal with an MMA company. I don't even remember who. Strikeforce, possibly. I don't remember. but his time with them was limited, and he really couldn't progress with his character or anything. He made a couple appearances, and that was about it. Now, it seems like Bobby Lashley is a little more free to do whatever he wants to do, and, well, as of this last TV show, now he has become one of the bigger heels on the show. So we'll see where this goes. But it's good to see Bobby Lashley back. It's another big guy, another talented guy. If you're not familiar with his stuff, go back and look at what some of the stuff he did in the WWE's version of ECW. It's pretty good, as far as a big guy is concerned. Next, another recent addition to the roster is Bram, or Brahm. Not quite sure how you pronounce it, but Bram. This guy used to be in WWE's NXT, one half of Ascension. Now, he got into some trouble with the law. I don't know if he did jail time or what all happened. All I know is that he got canned from NXT, and well, now TNA's brought him in and made him a weekly character now, which is great. I thought he was wonderful in the Ascension, so I knew he had the in-ring talent, and it looks like he's got some okay speaking skills too. They're doing a lot of backstage segments with him and Magnus bouncing off each other, so it's interesting to see this character grow. Next, EC3, Ethan Carter, another former guy that got let go from NXT. Big mistake in my opinion as far as the WWE goes, and I don't say that much about the WWE. TNA's really made this character, because he used to be this big face in the NXT roster, and now he's just one of the dirtiest players. He's the nephew of Dixie Carter, and I really like what they're doing with him. He's a great heel on the show. They brought Kenny King back, another great addition for the X Division, who is also, looks like he's aligned himself with someone further down on my list. Great to see Kenny King back. Good action guy. Next, Sam Shaw. Oh my goodness. This guy was brought in a couple years ago. You didn't see him forever. Now he's on there on a weekly basis. His character is deranged. He's got good in-ring skills. Just really creepy to watch. Very entertaining. I like it. Last but not least, to my positives is MVP. I think this was, I was questioning it for a while. I'm like, is this guy really going to be good for the TNA roster? And the position they put him in, they didn't just bring him in as another wrestler. They brought him in as an authority figure, and I think he's doing it very well. Unfortunately, now I'm going to go straight from a positive into a negative into this. I love his character. Don't get me wrong. Great in-ring talent. He's really improved his stuff over the years in Japan, and now that he's back in the States, and America can watch him again. Except what he's doing, we've seen all this before, quite recently too. A little company called the WWE. Yeah, it's a very similar storyline. Unfortunately, it's not everything they're doing right now with his character. It's not original at all. That's the big downside of it. I like MVP and TNA. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But what they're doing with him, they should have taken a little extra time, come up with something a little more original. I just, I don't get it. It's like you've seen it, and then you turn on another channel and watch another company, and then you're seeing the same thing again that you just watched the last few months of. It's not going to draw people in. It's not, But now the fact that they brought Bobby Lashley and Kenny King in with MVP does make it more interesting. It's not just MVP. It's, now a faction of I believe they called him the most valuable player. So we'll see where it goes. I have no clue what they're going to do with Eric Young. Now, we're going to follow up with the negatives here. Eric Young as TNA champ. Like I said, it's like the same week Daniel Bryan became champ finally in the WWE. What did TNA do? They took a guy with a big ass beard, similar, wrestling skills, look, whatever you want to call it, charisma, and just made him TNA champ. Hello? Yeah. Does he deserve it because he's been with the company forever? Sure, I'll agree with that. But why are you going to do the same thing that WWE's doing with Daniel Bryan? And they took what WWE did over the course of the last half year from, SummerSlam to now, even longer, with this whole, slow build of Daniel Bryan. They did everything with Eric Young, and they threw it all into one day's programming. It's like, what? Really? I don't know. Is Eric Young talented? Yes. Are fans going to be drawn in to watch more because he's champ now? I don't think so. You can beg to differ if you want. It's my opinion. But I don't think it's going to draw more views. Okay, another thing they need to work on, their tag teams. Don't get me wrong, the Wolves are great. The bromance, entertaining, those that feud between the two right now is wonderful. Except, they're the only two tag teams going on right now. If I was going to do something to reboot the TNA tag team division, I would throw the Beer Money group back together, because it's some of the last original guys you got. Make them big again. And I don't know, they really need more tag teams right now. And it can't be just guys you throw together. It's got to be established guys that are going to be, you want to watch. The last big thing that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to kind of all lump it into one as far as the negatives that's going on in TNA right now. For every positive that they're bringing in new guys in the roster, they're losing that much more. All their veterans, they're cutting them loose. I shouldn't say all, but a majority of them. And I think it's really hurting. It's one thing to bring in new talent, but you've got to have the vets work with them to help build them up. You can't just bring in a bunch of new guys and get rid of all your old guys. Let me go through the list, and this isn't even all of them. There's okay, biggest one of the group in my opinion, as far as faces in the company, Jeff Jarrett, the starter of the whole company, just resigned from the company. That's a bad sign, guys. I don't care how you sugarcoat it. That's a bad sign. He's off, building his whole new company now. They lost most recently Hernandez, big guy, Mexican, very entertaining to watch. Not great on the mic, but fun to watch in the ring. AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, Kaz, and last but not least, they lost Sting. Now, how much they were actually drawing with Sting, I don't know, but it's a focal point of the company. You can't lose that many guys and just toss their contracts without bringing in some bigger names, some better talent. The talent they're bringing in, don't get me wrong, they're doing okay with. It's all original stuff, majority of it. But man, the switch is so, it's so, the switch is so big right now. It's unbelievable. And last but not least on the list that it looks like they're going to lose is Kurt Angle. A, he's injured. B, it doesn't look like he's going to come back to TNA. That's a big blow to TNA. Like I said in my last video about him carrying the company. So that's my positives and negatives. What do you think are the positives and negatives of the current TNA Impact product? Thanks for watching, guys.